Namaskaram. Before we start, there might be an interruption of a few days. I have no idea, maybe a week, uh, because I am involved with a translation. I had done it earlier. It needs revision. The material hasn't come to me, but it will reach in a day or two. So maybe after the next Mahabharata episode, I will have to start on that translation work. But hope I can manage both. But if there is an interruption, please bear with me. In Mahabharatam, we are on a sub-parvam called Teertha Yatra Parvam. We are still within the third major parvam called Vanaparvam, which is fairly big in Mahabharata standard also. So it started because they were living in the Kamika forest and Arjuna left it, for Pashupatastram, and from there he was taken to heaven, and for 5 years at least he was away. And the Pandavas, it was Draupadi who first went to Yudhishthira and complained, "Oh, without Arjuna, this place is lonely. I don't feel like continuing." And Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva all gave the same sentiment. Yudhishthira himself had that feeling in him. So they were thinking what to do. It was then that sage Narada arrived, and when they expressed their loneliness, Narada said, then the right thing is to go on a pilgrimage. And he said that Bhishma had gone on a pilgrimage suggested by Pulaha, sage Pulaha. Pulaha is one of the Prajapatis. Prajapatis are the sages who were the Manasaputra, who were children, sons of Brahma, but not born of what is it called, of wedlock, born out of a woman's womb. That is, they were created from by his mind, thought. There were a few, and Pulastya was one of them. And Pulastya described the pilgrimages he conducted to Bhishma at that time. And Narada, because he heard that from Pulastya, went through the pilgrimages conducted by Pulastya. So Yudhishthira decided, all the Pandavas and Draupadi, they were thinking about it. It was then that sage Lomasha arrived. And Lomasha also went through the pilgrimages he had done. He said that he went all over India twice, but he was willing to go a third time for their sake. He would accompany them. So with Lomasha, they started. By then, there was a large crowd of citizens who had started living with the Pandavas, uh, Brahmins and others. So it was not practical to take them all, but they all wanted to go accompany Yudhishthira. With a lot of trouble, persuaded them to go to Hastinapuram and uh, go to Dhritarashtra. Many of those people were on Yudhishthira's employment for various tasks, and Yudhishthira paid them well and asked them to go to Dhritarashtra, saying that Dhritarashtra will give them suitable jobs. And they first went in the eastern direction. They went to places like Prayaga, Gaya, Teertham. Gaya was one of the famous kings who conducted lots of yajnas, and he was a generous person. He fed hundreds and thousands of people every day. It is said that there were mountains of food prepared for feeding who all came to participate. And then they reached Agastya's hermitage, which was on the way. And Sage Agastya is a very famous sage, one of the few who settled in the south. There are interesting stories about Agastya coming to the south, and in Tamil, he was a well-known philosopher. An Agastya Samhita written by him is known in Tamil as Agatyam or Ahatyam as they pronounce it. Said to be a very important scripture. I haven't seen it, I heard about it, that's all. So Yudhishthira said that he heard Agastya had killed a demon by name Vatapi. He asked Lomasha, why was it? Why did Agastya kill a demon? So Lomasha narrated the story of Agastya, why he had to kill Vatapi. Agastya, while traveling, one day came across some strange creatures hanging down from trees, head downwards. And he asked them, who are you? Why are you hanging like this? And they replied, we are your ancestors and we can't go to heaven because you haven't married, you don't have children. So our journey to heaven has been blocked. So Agastya said, okay, I will do the necessary. So he decided to marry, looked around for a suitable wife. He was not happy with anyone whom he found. He searched far and wide. He couldn't find a suitable wife. So he decided to make one on his own. So he selected the best looking features and created one girl child of his, like he was happy at the end. It was a lovely child. He gave life to her. And he took the child to the king of Vidarbha and gave it to the king to look after. King was very happy. He looked after the child. She was very pretty. They called her Lopa Mudra. She is a famous wife of Agastya, the only known wife of Agastya, Lopa Mudra. Each of the famous Prajapatis have their famous wives. Atri, Anasuya, they are famous pairs. Gautama, Ahalya, like that. All of them have their famous wives. And Agastya came back after a few years and he found Lopamudra very pretty to his liking. So he went to the king and said, King, I would like to marry your daughter. The king was not very happy in giving her to Agastya because he loved her and she grew up in the royal way. Good food, good clothing, good place to live. And with a sage like Agastya, what she would get, the king could guess. So he was hesitant. But at the same time, if he refused, Agastya might curse and that will be bad. So he was hesitating and wanted to ask his daughter's opinion. Lopamudra thought for a while, said, King, father, no, I have no objection, please give me up in marriage to the sage. And the king accordingly married her off to Agastya. Agastya married Lopamudra, but they had no relationship. He continued to do tapas, meditation, and Lopamudra, married to Agastya, lived like a sage's wife with, clothing made of bark or skin, and eating whatever fruits and nuts she could find, and in the sage's hut. And after a while, Agastya asked Lopamudra, look, wife, I have married you, but we have no children. So we can't have children if we live like this. Lopamudra said, look, I have no objection, of course I have married you, but I cannot have a relationship with you and produce a child who will grow up in this hut, in this dirt. So you make everything exactly like where I grew up. A good house, good clothing for me and for the children who will be born, and good food for them. Then Agastya said, no, I don't have money for all that. How can I provide all that for you? Then Lopamudra said, okay, then you are very powerful. You have enough power through your penance, through your meditation. You can create them all with your power. Agastya said, yeah, true, but I don't want to waste my power on these trivial things. Lopamudra said, all right, then you can beg. There are rich kings who have enough money. They can't refuse if you approach them. Then Agastya started approaching the kings one by one. Each king, when Agastya approached, said, you look at my balance sheet, income and expenditure. Whatever I get through taxes, I spend on welfare schemes. I don't save even a paisa. So I don't have any money to spare. What can I do? You tell me what I can do. Agastya couldn't find a good solution, because if he asks the king to tax more, it will be punishing the people. So he would go to the next king who did the same thing. So all the kings he approached, they showed their helplessness because they all were good kings. They all balanced their income and expenditure well. Whatever they earned, they spent on people. Then Agastya thought of a way, and that we can't finish today. The time is up, so we shall continue next day, hopefully day after tomorrow. Namaskaram.